3, 2, 1. It's time. Vinnie Vain.
Kevin, how are you, man?
I'm good, mate. Welcome to MMA Live TV.
Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Mate, thank you for being here. Maybe I'll set the record straight, mate. We're not doing something insane here, but when I created MMA Live TV, definitely the emphasis was on UFC, but it dawned to me that there are a lot of combat sports and there are a lot of sports as a whole there. So look, you'll bring a different platform and a different viewpoint on it. So we thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for, I'm a professional wrestler, and to be on MMA Live TV, the crossover is undeniable in 2020. So it's great to come on here and chat and give a different perspective on two different sports that essentially have quite the same fan base and such a large crossover.
Absolutely. Mate, so you're a professional wrestler in Australia.
Correct.
So I guess a lot of questions come to mind, but tell us about your story specifically and why wrestling? How did that even come about?
Well, my story is much like any other kid who grew up as a fan, basically. So I wouldn't say as a young child, like under 10, I knew of wrestling, and I used to be on at like 1 a.m. on a Friday or Saturday night, and you might stay up late and catch a few things, and it was cool, but I wasn't really overly into it. But then when I was 13 or 14, and I used to go to like Christian Brothers Lewisham. We used to have sports days on Thursday, and after sports, I used to go and see my grandfather. That was like the thing I used to do. That was the only time I really spent with him. And we'd go over there, and they'd replay Raw on Thursday afternoons on Fox Sports 2. And that's the thing we did. We used to eat fried chicken like fatties, and we used to sit there and watch the 2-hour, Raw replay. And I just got into it. Like, I can't explain it. It's just like fascinated. I fell in love with this thing, and I would watch it every week religiously. And then my cousins would come over and we'd watch the pay-per-views, and we'd beg, can we please get $50 to buy the pay-per-view? And we'd buy the pay-per-view. And I just grew up as a fan, and into my late teens I was a fan, and then even in my 20s I was a fan. And then I finished university. I finished with a BA in Bachelor of Business and Commerce and Marketing. I secured a job. I was getting married, had my house. I was like, all right, what else am I going to do? I actually dabbled in MMA for quite a few months. I don't know if a lot of people know this. I was actually an Australian karate champion in my teens.
Really?
Yeah, Australian champion for my weight division. And I toured Japan.
Toured Japan?
Toured Japan. I went for a world championship when I was 14 for the Australian team. It's called Kashiki. It was full body contact fighting. So it's with the shields and the face masks. And I went to Japan and did that. So I was into karate and combat sports.
At what level was that?
Highest level you could do at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
For a kid my age and my weight, is as high as you could go.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I won championships. I didn't win the world championship. Tournament style, I think I got knocked out in the second round. But still, to get there, compete, get a win was awesome. But I was always into combat sports. But I digress. I dabbled in MMA when I was like 24, 25, and did a few months training. And I wanted to try pro wrestling because I just came across someone's profile on Facebook. I was like, who's this bloke? In his little shorts, he's had the body out, and I was able to trace my steps to the AWE, which is Australian Wrestling Entertainment.
Yep.
Got in touch with the owner there and said, listen, how do I do this per se? And then he told me to come down for a tryout. I went down, got assessed. He's like, look, you have some reasonable athletic ability. Start training and we'll see what happens. And that was like 6 years ago. And then I went through the training, started doing some shows and some matches, and just boom, rest is history. That's it.
Awesome. So at what age was that?
When I started wrestling, like pro wrestling training, 25. I started very late.
Yes.
Very, very late. Some great guys in pro wrestling like DDP and Batista, they all started very late as well. But I think given if I could do my time over, if I knew that I would have been this good at it and the potential to go further, I would have started when I was 18. But in hindsight, I was a really skinny kid. I had no muscle mass. I was just this alien kid with big woggy hair. Yeah. So it might not have worked out for me, because only then, I think at 25, my body started to develop and change. Late bloomer people. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
So I think it happened for a reason. I started when I started.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 25, after a hiatus in the sport and trying different, things from an MMA perspective and having success there. How did the story evolve? Like what were you chasing at that time of your life exactly?
To be honest with you, where I was in my life, you're 25 and career, life, all the goals you want. You want the house, you want a good relationship, you want a career, you want to make money. I wasn't doing anything that was for me per se. I'm doing what is expected of me as a male in the 21st century, coming from I'm a Greek Lebanese guy. I'm like, so with the upbringing, and like my family's very supportive.
Yep.
But I wanted to do something for me because I'm not a sideline guy. I can't sit on the sidelines and watch a sport. There's nothing wrong with that. I can't do it. I have to physically get involved.
Yep.
And I wanted to do something that was just for me and something that I like to go against the grain. There's no surprise there. Like I used to play touch football as well in my early 20s, but I wasn't my wife would say to me, "You're not a team player. You can't play as a team." And she's probably right. That's why wrestling is probably perfect because it's very much an individual sport.
Of course.
So I needed to do something, and I wanted to try my hand at this because like I didn't want to get to like 40 or 30 even and be like, what did I do? Why didn't I do that when I was able and willing and like had the body to do it and the time to do it? So I made a decision to try. And if I didn't like it, I was going to go back to MMA. That's the honest truth. I was going to go back and keep training in MMA to try and, I wanted to compete in the amateurs, then hopefully turn pro and, go to the UFC.
Yep.
But wrestling just took off and I fell in love with it. And I still love MMA, but like, I think pro wrestling resonated with me more. It was always my outlet. Like no matter what's going on in my life, no matter what's bothering me or whatever's on, I could always just put on wrestling and like, escape. Some people drink, some people jab a vein, some people gamble.
Yep.
For me, it's like I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. It's pro wrestling is my outlet.
Yep. So a lot of paradigms, and you've obviously tasted that life of mixed martial arts, and there's definitely a discipline there that you need to do to go at the highest sort of level. So fair to say that wrestling offered something different than that? And would it be fair to say that entertainment side really resonated with you?
Yes, absolutely. I think the beautiful thing about and you see some guys in MMA, they'd be amazing professional wrestlers. Like, cause I'd hate to use the typical poster boy, but like your Conor McGregors who like talk a lot of smack and the attitude, the aura, the arrogance. Amazing. The guy should be in WWE. He'd be fantastic. You never know.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man, the guy would sell so many tickets. But it's the showman aspect. And I think the best thing about it is you're obviously given a character per se. Like I'm Vinnie Vain. Okay. What is Vinnie Vain? Well, Vinnie Vain is pretty much an extension of who I really am. Like Vinnie Vain, but like, all right, my real name, I'm Nathan Maroon, but like Vinnie Vain is an extension of Nathan Maroon. He's just turned up to 100,
Okay.
So it's what you see. It's the, my character is that he's a pretty boy, little smart ass, cocky kid that, doesn't cheat to win, but he might bend the rules a bit. He's arrogant. He believes his own hype. He's got tickets on himself, but hey, at least his show's a sellout, right?
Of course. And that persona, just for our audience, was created by you? How did that come about?
Well, I said I started in Australian Wrestling Entertainment. I started training in their system and their school and their shows. Obviously, there's a lot of companies in Australian wrestling, but I started there primarily.
And what does that training sort of entail?
Well, it's not your textbook training. So it was actually in an Olympic gymnasium. Okay, so the floor is spring loaded, much like a professional wrestling ring where there's flex, and it basically involved learning how to roll. So like rolling, like different types of rolls and break falls. You got to learn how to break fall, which is what we call a bump. So learning how to take bumps and then learning how to do certain moves like your basics, your suplexes, your drop kicks, your DDTs, your neck breakers, all that sort of stuff. And then as we advanced, when we did shows, the ring would be set up. So then it's getting in there and learning how to run ropes, like off the ropes and into the turnbuckles and jumping off the top rope, learning how to do all that. So that's what it entailed until you got to a certain level where you were booked for shows. So coming up to the character, the gentleman who ran AWE was looking to fill a hole, so to speak. And what, like I said, what he saw in me, he saw like who I am. He's like, I think you could be this really good heel, you know, just you turned up times 100.
And just for the non-wrestling audience, what's a heel exactly?
A heel is a bad guy. So when, you know, wrestling's about good and evil. So, you know, blue-eyed baby face is a good guy. The heel is the bad guy.
Okay.
So, you know, that's kind of my gimmick now, is the bad guy Vinnie Vain.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what a heel is.
And that persona was given to you, or like how do you feel about being the bad guy?
Look, I've played face at times as well. I like being the bad guy because I love getting on a microphone in front of a live audience and saying what I want to say.
Yep.
And, you know, like, I think it comes naturally to me because, like, I walk out, you know, I come out in the arena, you know, I've got my coat, I've got my leather pants, I've got my sunglasses on, I've got my nose up. I don't acknowledge the audience. I like, this guy's an ass, you know? Like, so it's just there's instant, like, who does this kid think he is? You know, like, look at him. Who is this guy? So it's automatically, there's a dislike in comparison to a baby face who would come out and clap and like high five. And I'm just like, look at this arrogant, you know, so-and-so, like, who does he think he is, you know? So it's, it comes naturally to me. Like, in the real world, some people might say, Nathan's a bit like, you know, he's a bit full of himself. He's a bit cocky. He's a bit arrogant. Like, I can admit that. But once you get to know me, I'm nothing like that. It's just a persona turned up.
Of course. I think, you know, we've seen it in the UFC with Colby Covington. There are a lot of individuals. You can't have good guys everywhere. I guess that's the thing, right? It makes things very boring. And in the UFC, you've seen historically those quotation marks bad guys, the Michael Bispings of the world, you know. Conor McGregor's arguably his best version when he versed Khabib, in which he wasn't a good guy at all.
Yeah, not at all.
So look, these are characters that people resonate towards.
Let me put it to you this way. Would Batman be Batman without the Joker?
Of course not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need this. And this is what sells. This is what tells a story.
Yeah.
This is what sells tickets. Even in Australian boxing, hypothetically, like you look at Anthony Mundine. Anthony Mundine would be hated by the Australian public and the media.
Yep.
But you meet him, he's nothing like that. The guy is just trying to sell tickets to his fight, and good on him.
Absolutely.
People want to pay to see him get knocked out. But, you know, that's where you stand up as a fighter and prove them wrong.
Absolutely. And that's the whole thing about combat sports and sports as a whole, right? It's that underdog story, or that ability to prove people wrong and to work hard to achieve that sort of dream. Yeah,
true. But like sometimes it's good to see the bad guy win.
Of course.
The fairy tale ending gets boring after a while. So
Absolutely.
it's not a bad thing to see the bad guy walk away with a victory and a good paycheck.
That's it, mate. That's it. So look, wrestling in Australia, can you give us maybe an overview of like how does one even become a wrestler in Australia, and what are the major programs here?
Okay.
Like how does one navigate that?
Yeah, sure. Look, the first thing you do is you go to Google and you type in professional wrestling, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane. You'll find federations, organizations, companies. Most of them have a training school. If not, they can put you in touch with a training school. So these companies run shows. They either have training schools or they're affiliated with training schools.
Are these equivalents of like gyms?
To a degree, yes. Like I said, I started in a Olympic gymnasium. Not ideal, but at the time, given where I was living and what was around 6 years ago, is very different to now. And also circumstance. Like a lot of these schools in Sydney, we're talking about here in Sydney, out west. And like I'm in a city guy. So for me to go out west after a, 10, 12 hour working day, it's just not going to happen. So at the time it was good, but you could go there and they're like they've got a wrestling ring set up. They've got crash mats. They've got mats to stretch and train on and practice certain things. And there's the ring, and it's really all there is to it. Just a good trainer. You just need someone that's, I guess, been there. In Australian wrestling, only in the last few years have people been there. And by there, I mean the WWE at the highest level.
So who are some of these guys?
Buddy Murphy. Now known as Murphy. He's the current tag team champion on Raw with Seth Rollins, who is probably the greatest wrestler today. Many you can argue, but it's fact. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, two girls, Western Sydney girls. They're up there now. And there's a few in NXT, which is like the development area for WWE. So you've got I'm not too sure. I think he's Bronson Reed is his name, but he's a big guy.
He's a unit.
Yeah, and I think he was working under the name Jonah Rock. here in Australia. We're getting there, man. There's some guys making their mark at the highest level over there. And we've got some other guys making it into, like, I wouldn't say lower feds, but like WWE is the monopoly. Everyone, you ask anyone, everyone
it's just
knows
like
WWE.
the UFC, right?
That's
like
right.
It's the NBA.
But you have New Japan, Ring of Honor, TNA Impact. You have all these different feds as well. But yeah, we're getting there slowly.
So tell me this: the individuals that you just mentioned who have actually made it through the ranks to the WWE, is it that the WWE actually has scouts coming into these, like how does that even work?
Oh man, if I knew the answer, would I be sitting here?
Right.
No. Look, there's a few different ways. Like anything, and this is my opinion. Okay, this is my opinion. This isn't gospel. I'm giving you my take on it.
Sure.
It's not what you know; it's who you know.
Of course.
Okay. If you like, there are scouts that come out, but are they like, who do you know? How are you going to get looked at? You can apply online for WWE, but like, what do you bring to the table? And I sat in a conference. I was lucky when WWE came out in 2018 for Super Showdown, which was, they did a stadium show for pay-per-view at the MCG in Melbourne, right? I was fortunate enough, I do some work with Maxim Magazine on occasion. I was featured in their magazine. I was invited as a guest to a conference or a 40 people maximum intimate meeting with Triple H.
Okay.
Triple H is,
it's a big deal.
Big deal.
Yep.
He was basically talking to us like just about business per se, but like some people ask questions, what does it take to get there? And it's like, it just depends what we're looking for. We have a show, we're looking for a certain character. Does this guy or girl fit the bill? Then potentially, yeah. They said, we'll bring you in, we'll train you, we'll teach you how to be a wrestler, but do you have the heart and are you coachable?
Yep.
I've known guys that have gone and signed to development contracts in WWE.
What's a development contract?
A development contract is something where it's like, we're going to pay you, come over to Florida, go to the performance center, and we'll teach you how to be a wrestler.
Okay,
and pay you to do it.
Yep.
But they're athletes. Like this one guy I know particularly was a rugby league player, big, Islander boy, good looking kid, could do it all. Like he had the skill set. Like he had the athletic ability.
Yep.
Never wrestled a match in his life.
Yep.
But he could go over there and be coached, and they could make something of him. You have a guy. Correct me if I pronounce his name wrong. Forgive me. Daniel Vito, who Brisbane Broncos NRL player, signed to a development contract over there.
Yep.
But he's an athlete. He's coachable. He looks fantastic.
Yep.
And he's just paying his dues over there now. And I hope he gets that call up. Like he's on NXT, which is the development program in WWE.
Yep.
But I have no doubt that guy can be a future world champion.
Yep.
And it's great. Like, because like some wrestlers get mad because, they're not even wrestlers. And like, I'm here, busting my ass, staying down.
Yep.
Great. I get it. But what's going to sell tickets? What's going to make money?
Yep. Yep.
Like
so you noted that you could actually go to the website and apply to go to the WWE.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Submit a reel of?
They ask for, I think from memory, I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things you never hear back.
Yeah,
It's like characteristics, age, weight, height, sex, some profile shots, headshot, body shot. Tell us why you would make a good, candidate. Why should we hire you? Show us some matches, or like show us some footage that not even matches. Show us things that display your athletic ability. Anyone can apply.
Fair enough. And so you're saying to a degree, coachable. If you have athletic traits, obviously you have the persona or the characteristics of a wrestler. It just depends on what they're looking for at that particular time.
Pretty much. Like I know people where they've, not people per se, but like I've of people who have applied, but they weren't cut out for wrestling, but they made them a backstage correspondent where they're on a microphone and talking, or a referee, or there's so many moving parts to this business, not just the wrestlers. So take your shot, so to speak.
Fair enough. Yeah, the business side of it is very interesting. So
I love it, man.
I recently interviewed a UFC fighter by the name of Frank Camacho. He's in Guam.
Yep.
He's doing his thing and really loving what he's doing. And the question I asked him was, there are levels to every game, right? So when you go fighting in that circuit to the UFC, that's a big jump, right? That's the NBA, that's prime time. And I asked him, what was the biggest adjustment that you had to make to get there? And I was really expecting along the lines of, better training, better eating, all that sort of stuff. But the first thing he said to me was management and really understanding that business side. And if it wasn't for his manager, he knew a lot of people that were potentially, you know, really gifted fighters that never necessarily made it because they didn't get the exposure and the eyeballs in that particular regard. So I think it's very interesting you say that.
To your point, now in this country, there are some workers are the people that work on the shows, the wrestlers per se, that are amazing wrestlers. I take my hat off to them. I think they're great. I think I'm just as good in some regards, but I will not sit here and say to you, I'm the best wrestler in Australia. There are some guys that are training this 7 days a week. This is their life. Okay. I've made it clear. I have a full-blown marketing career. I travel around with it. I make a ton of money doing it. I am very good at it. I know my priorities, but I love wrestling. It'd be a dream to get to the WWE and make a career out of it. But back to my point, they might be great wrestlers, but there's more to this business than wrestling. Okay? It's about wrestling, your look, your talking ability. Like, you got to get on a microphone, you got to talk, you got to get your point across.
It's entertainment at the end of the day,
It's entertainment. Right? Can you talk on a microphone? What do you like on social media? Like, you know, like, there's no point being a great wrestler if you can't string a sentence together. This is entertainment. It's not boxing where you can, like, no offense, like Daniel Gill, probably one of Australia's greatest boxers ever, couldn't sell a fight if his life depended on it. You know what I mean? Because he can't talk. Wrestling's different. I don't care if you can't wrestle per se. I had a guy like Chavo Guerrero, who's a wrestling legend, say it doesn't matter if you're not the greatest wrestler. You'll work on it, get better, but improve. You got to be a well-rounded wrestler, and wrestler isn't necessarily just wrestling.
It's the package.
If you can wrestle, you will always have a job. Yes, I agree. That's what Chavo Guerrero told me. But I personally believe if you can talk on a microphone, you look half decent, you can wrestle half decent, social medias are up to date, and you're marketable, say no more. Where do you sign?
That's it. So you've seen this. So you started at 25. You've seen different versions of this, but how important is social media in terms of playing a part in this dynamic in terms of marketing?
Look, me being a marketer by trade and like a social media marketer, look, I am probably slack at my socials, to be fair. Okay. But look, it's very important because you have to understand, I am contracted by certain organizations to rock up and perform and wrestle on a show. Now, they need to be able, if they're going to pay me, not going to get into figures here, but let's just say they pay me whatever amount. They need to be able to make that back and some. There needs to be a return on investment. You need to do your part. Wrestling is only one part of it. You need to promote that show, that match, to get your fan base invested to come out and buy a ticket or buy it on pay-per-view, so to speak. Right now, there's a lot of companies I work for that are doing live streaming, pay-per-view, that sort of stuff. You got to promote it. Otherwise, why should they hire you? Why should they give your spot? Like, why should they give you that spot when there's always someone else waiting to take your spot, you know, that will do the work and promote it. And you need to be across social media. You know, like, all right, not everyone's an expert on it, but you need to be able to promote yourself, promote the company you're working for, and promote the match. It's key. So important. I think if you've got good socials and you know how to, like, promote yourself and promote a company, then great. WWE are going to want people like that.
But so say hypothetically I was, you know, okay with the other attributes, but I had 100,000 Instagram following. Would that obviously that play a part, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you've got a reach, you've got a fan base already. I don't need to come in and establish you with a fan base. You've got one. It's already there. Gotcha. And they might be wrestling fans. They might not. If they're not, even better. We just bought, you know, say of 100,000 followers, say 95,000 aren't wrestling fans. We just got 95,000 eyeballs on our product. Great.
It's a way of looking at it. It's all a product.
That's right.
So tell me a bit more about wrestling and in that specifically the dynamics of how the sport is constructed. So as a guy that loves mixed martial arts and MMA, I think one thing that I really enjoy about it is the unpredictable nature of it. And specifically in the UFC, there's say what you want about the UFC and that they potentially underpay their athletes and Dana White has a monopoly on his hands, which he absolutely does.
Good luck
Good
to
on him. Because their championship, their belts, right? For wrestling, very similar too, right?
Correct.
If a lot of the stuff is choreographed, how does that dynamic work? Can you give me an example?
Okay, so I wouldn't say choreographed. Like, let's beat around the bush. Like, match results are predetermined. Like, let's not. You know, kayfabe is like the art of keeping the illusion up, so to speak. Like keeping it real. In wrestling, but you know, let's be honest, your audience aren't idiots. They know wrestling. They're going to use the word fake. I hate the word fake because I'm going to
try to dance around that word.
I'm going to go crack someone over the head with a chair. You tell me if it's fake, brother. You know what I mean? Because I've done that and it hurts.
It hurts.
But fake is not the word, okay? It's entertainment, okay? Now, with championships and how so you're asking me how it's determined who gets them,
correct?
Right? Okay. I personally think it's a lot of factors. Most people will say politics because like anything, there's politics. Yeah, but no, I think, and I've won a few championships in my time. I've been a tag team champion. I've been an AWE champion, so the top level champion. I've been a Hunter Valley Wrestling, which is now Kingdom Pro Wrestling, got bought out. I was their first ever elite champion. I've won championships. I've won tournaments. I was the first ever Mario Milano Contenders Cup winner, which was great. I've got some accolades under my belt. Now, if you ask me honestly, skill, is one part, but I also think it's got to do with how much money is this guy going to make us?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, like, is this guy going to, like, has he paid his dues? You know, has he done his training? Has he done his ring builds? Like, you know, like anything, you work hard. You train for the Olympics and you work your ass off, so to speak.
Yep.
You deserve that gold medal.
Yep.
Or silver or bronze or whatever. But like, same thing with wrestling. I think you've paid your dues, you've worked hard, yes, but also, can we make money with this guy? Can this guy carry a show? Can we bank on putting his face on a poster in the main event match? Will people pay to see him?
Yep.
And then can we make the story? Can we get the fans invested in him? Whether he's good or bad. That's what I think determines it to a degree. And also where they see you going. Can you carry it for how long? Like, it's like a machine. There's gears in a machine. Gear gets blunt, you take it out, you put in a new one. Same thing. I might get strung up for this, but back in even the 70s and 80s when wrestling was really big in Australia, the guys were legitimate badasses. Like, they could fight. Like, you wouldn't mess with guys like Mario Milano, Spiros Arion, like badass guys. Today, you're looking at guys getting into wrestling. I'm not gonna, and this isn't, I have nothing against, I'm just saying, like, most of them are a bunch of nerds. Not all of them, but so many you see are like quite nerdy. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, guys back then were into weights and cars. These guys today are into comic books and, you know, like, it's fine. I'm into comic books as well. I'm a big nerd myself. But like, a lot of these guys, like, they can't fight. Like, I had a friend of mine who's not a wrestling fan at all. He doesn't get it. He goes, I don't get why you put your body through this. And he saw a poster like that I was on, and he's like, I could beat the shit out of like all of you on the poster. And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, you know what? He's probably right. He's probably right. So like, it's not necessarily like today. They're not tough guys, so to speak. Like, it's guys like just doing it because, like, you know, they like wrestling, and that's great. That's beautiful. But the sport has evolved. You know, so like, there are some legitimate badasses in wrestling. Like Brock Lesnar, man. Like, Mike Tyson, baddest man on the planet. Give me a fucking break. Like, sorry to curse, but like Brock Lesnar, man, he's a real deal. Like,
maybe.
Like, he can go, man. Like,
he can definitely go.
Like Kurt Angle, you know, Olympic gold medalist. That guy can go. There's so many guys that can go, but I think in this country at the moment, like, if you ask me honestly, and I'm not going to say which side of the spectrum I fall in. Like, look, I did my karate. I can handle myself, but I wouldn't say I'm like a full, you know, badass fighter. Like, I can hold my own, get a couple of shots in. You know, like, I think maybe like 70%, you know, are like really can't fight characters, just like legit not badasses, offended by everything. Like, you know, you got to go on Twitter and like look at feeds, and someone's offended what this person said or what that person did, and it's like, oh god,
it all adds to the show, though, right?
Oh no, I think it adds to the show. Like, you know what, the fans love the backstage heat. Like, they love the animosity between wrestlers, and they love that crap. They feed on it. Yeah.
Well, we were speaking about that, right? It's like the male version of the Kardashians, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That drama. Like, no guy wants to say that out loud, but that's what we really want.
That's what we want. We like it. We like it. We're just not as pretty as the Kardashians. That's the problem.
Yeah, maybe you are.
Oh, maybe.
So tell me, mate, look, you're a working professional. You obviously love what you do, and I think like the biggest balance, and that's what I'm aiming to do with this channel, is to do something for yourself and something that you generally enjoy here. You've kind of noted that you have to juggle, you know, a lot. You have to wear a lot of hats, you know, as a recent father, as well as a husband, you know, as an employee, and as a wrestling entertainer. How do you do it? And what's your end goal? What's the end goal here?
That's the question everyone asks me.
Yeah.
They ask me, how do you do it?
Yeah.
How do you balance it? And you know what? The honest truth,
Yeah.
sometimes I can't.
Yeah.
I don't. Well, no matter what's going on, something is always suffering. If I'm on a high with wrestling, my family life is suffering. If
Yeah.
I'm on a high at work, my wrestling is suffering.
Do you feel guilty about that sometimes?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
I had a 1-year-old daughter. She's like the light of my life. I didn't know, it's so true, it's so cliche, but I didn't know love until I had this little girl come into my life.
Yeah.
Okay, like, and my wife, she hates wrestling, right? And I don't blame her, because for a long period when I was getting into, I'm so psyched up about it, I'm so excited, it's all I would talk about, I was fixated on it, I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I don't blame her for hating it, but all she has done is support me.
Yep.
Go, do it. Like, do your best, try. I have been so blessed, and like my parents, they've been nothing but supportive. Like my mum at one stage was coming to every show, front row, you know, wouldn't miss a beat, man. Like I've had nothing but support.
Does that weird you out when your folks are like watching it? You're doing your thing, you're playing that persona, and you got your shirt off and everything?
Nah, not at all. See, some people get really weird. Like some people I work with is like, oh, I gotta want to see you shirtless. Like I'm like, you go to the beach, right? You go to the pool. Like there's guys
talking about your parents, but yeah.
Nah, man. Like nah. I'm not.
You don't swear at these shows, right?
I curse. I'm sorry. Sometimes.
Okay.
Look, it depends. What are we asking for here? Like what are we?
Yeah.
It's got to fit the audience.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I admit, like there's been times when I've had some of the crowd, like some of the people in attendance, they don't respect boundaries, eh?
Yeah.
Like I've had situations where I have left the show. I'm no longer Vinnie Vain. Like the glasses are off, and like I'm walking to my car, and I've had someone want to start a fight with me.
Yeah.
Like, really, bro? Like I've had to be like, seriously? Like, you really want to go? I'm not going to tell you how it ended, but like, look at me, I'm here. So like, I'm not going to say any more.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes it's called for. Sometimes you need to just back up. You know what I mean? It happens. I would never put my hands on a fan.
Yeah.
But if you cross, like put it this way, you cross that territory, you cross that boundary and get into my ring, you're in my world. I will own you.
Awesome. Get your ass whipped.
Yeah, man. Pretty much.
How do you react to like negativity? Like obviously in front of you is one thing, but stuff on the internet, on social media.
In front of me, it's my job to get a reaction.
Okay.
Like if I'm a bad guy,
so
I want them to hate me.
Plus, whichever way, as long as it doesn't physically manifest.
Don't physically manifest, and like call me certain words. You're gonna be racist, or you're gonna a lot of people. You're homophobic slurs, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah.
Screw you.
Yeah.
But it's my job to get heat.
Okay.
And by heat, I mean that negative reaction from the crowd. Online is a different story. I don't mind if people comment on upcoming match posts saying, "Oh, I hate Vinny." That's fine. It's what you're meant to do. But it doesn't get to me anymore. It used to get to me when I started out. It was like, you have mark, right? Is the term. A mark is a person that's like really manifested in this and kind of believes it, and
just hyper invested.
Yeah. They want to critique my skill or what I did and judge me to a degree. Now you pay for a ticket, you're entitled to your opinion, but it used to bother me because it's like, you haven't stepped in my shoes. And they hate it when they say, "Oh, but you don't step between these ropes, so you don't know what it's like." But you know what? It's true. Who are you? Like, you're a basement dwelling, geek, bro. Like, you know what I mean? You're in your 30s, you're overweight, you don't get laid. Like, that's the cliche for these marks, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, I just get really cut. Like, who are you to judge me and to a degree defame me online? Because what annoys me is these people are like gatekeepers and they're influencers and they influence other fans. So like, before someone's even seen me perform, they've already got this perception of me. And I hated that. But nowadays, I don't care. I took the approach, if you don't have the balls to come up to my face and say what you really want to say, you're not worth my time. Okay?
So the people you're talking about are like online or what? YouTubers or more like...
Twitter, Facebook, on closed groups, and I'll give you like an example. I like constructive criticism. There are a few people that are fans that I'm friends with and they'll write blogs and reviews of shows, and it's not always colorful of me. Like it's not always, oh, he was so great. But I can accept when I had a bad match or a bad performance. Any sports person on the planet has bad days. Okay. As long as it's done in a professional and a courteous manner,
Yep.
I can take constructive criticism. But if you're just being like you're being mean for the sake of being mean,
Yep.
that's not okay. Like it's like a bit of self-respect, man. Like I'm also a human being. I'm also a parent. I'm also a father. And now I'm even more onto this bullying thing because like I have a daughter and like I will not tolerate bullying because if anyone bullies my daughter, believe me, your life is over. So I'm very much
you're invested in it. It takes on a different light, basically. You've got a different lens. Yeah, look, that's really interesting. In terms of, wrestling and I'm trying to draw the parallels to MMA in Australia, do you think we have that momentum and both sports are growing at a similar sort of clip? And the reason I said that is obviously off the back of, we're going to claim Israel Adesanya as Australian, even though he's a Kiwi.
Yeah.
Volkanovski is pure Australian. It's like Chippy from the block.
Yeah, mate.
These accents, you can't even understand it. Anyway, it's great. Good on him.
It is.
Good on him. But like you've seen really an explosion with gyms and stuff like that. It's insane. It is. Almost every second person is doing jiu-jitsu. Why? I gotta give it a go.
Oh my God. I was saying the same thing to someone now. Like everyone does BJJ. It's like far out.
You just say I agree. Do you think wrestling is at that similar clip or like how do you view it? Or how does the wrestling community view it?
Look, I think MMA is far more ahead purely because you only have to look at the number of MMA gyms in comparison to
Why do you think that's the case though?
I just think because it's probably more because the predisposition that wrestling is fake. UFC or MMA, so to speak. I hate it when people say, I do UFC. Okay, bro. Like MMA is real. MMA is legit. It's like a legit sport. I think that has a lot to do with it. I think people with wrestling, you either get it or you don't. It's like Star Wars or Star Trek. You either get it or you don't. I don't get Star Wars or Star Trek. So I don't understand when people get all
precious about it.
So I think it's like that. But I think MMA is much more advanced. And I think that, it's given its rise in popularity and even the notoriety it has because it's so violent and barbaric to a degree.
Yep.
It does very well. But I think that we're not on the same level.
Gotcha. And obviously like the crossover between the UFC and, WWE and wrestling, like, talk to me about some of the transitions that you've seen across and who do you think potentially are the next wave? Wow.
I think so the first guy to really do it was like, look, it's funny because like you look at guys like Kurt Angle, who I touched on, who was a 96 Olympics Atlanta gold medalist in the wrestling.
Yeah.
He was doing that and then he came over to the WWE and he picked it up quick and he'd go down as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar, on the other hand, NCAA Division I heavyweight wrestling champion, came into WWE, went into MMA, became the heavyweight champion there. A couple of years hiatus, came back and, he's at the top of the WWE, like earning millions of dollars to work limited dates every year.
It's a dream.
It's a dream. We saw CM Punk try and transition, who I think Punk is...
Why did he do that?
Punk he was a very popular independent worker. Now, when I say independent, meaning the indie, he worked the indies before WWE, which is basically all the local promotions, so to speak.
Yeah.
He just got fed up with WWE and the politics backstage and behind it. And rightfully so. He did a very controversial podcast with Colt Cabana, which is another professional, where he did a tell-all of why he quit and why he left. And he wanted to try something new and good on him.
Good on him.
I'm not like a lot of people, oh, Punk, you failed. You went to the UFC. Mate, you have no idea what it's like to step inside that octagon and compete. It's not fake anymore. You're fighting for your life. And I think, okay, he didn't get the wins over there, but I think he showed potential. I think he has enough drive and determination. Like, you don't get to that level in the WWE and be their champion for as long as he did if you weren't an athlete and had the potential to go into anything and do well. I think he still has potential to be great. I think people are very hard on him. You have someone like Ronda Rousey, who came from the UFC to the WWE.
Yep.
She picked it up like that.
Yep.
Killed a women's champion.
How big is the women's division in the WWE?
It's grown so much.
Yep.
Go back into the late 90s, early 2000s, they were more or less sex symbols, so to speak.
Yep.
They were there because they looked good.
Yep.
That's a fact. They weren't given much screen time, or airtime.
Yep.
They, were there because they looked good.
Yep.
You've seen it, but some of them could wrestle. They were great. It's really sad that it was like that back then. But now we've seen a resurgence of women who can actually wrestle and are great. The women headlined WrestleMania last year.
Yep.
You know, which is WrestleMania is the biggest show of the year. They were the main event because obviously the talent and the caliber is there. I actually, for my own moveset, I actually get more inspiration off watching some of the women's matches because I hate to say it, we're kind of the same build, so I can do the same. No.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
we're
no, I
kind
get
of the same frame, like you know, weight. So I watch a lot of women's wrestling because I think they're very talented, and I think like Sasha Banks, one of my favorite female wrestlers, so talented. Charlotte Flair, who's the daughter of the legendary, you know, Ric Flair, great worker. Becky Lynch, even the girls coming through, you know, in the NXT system are great. There's so much talent and so much potential there. Fantastic, man.
I just thought of something, and you noted it. How many wrestling moves are there? Because you've just noted that you watch. Like, is there an infinite bag, or is it like how does that even work?
Mate, there's a funny thing with you know, Chris Jericho.
Yes.
Chris Jericho had like a list of like 1,000 moves. There's so much. It's endless, mate. It's I don't even know.
But do people create new moves? And
absolutely,
all the time. So if you create a new move, like, how do you know?
Look, if you ask me, I think everything's already been done.
Yeah.
Okay. It just hasn't been seen.
Yeah. Okay. They're just iterations of
That's
things.
right. And modifications to a degree. I, you know, might hook the head this way instead of this way. Like, you know, like not that that's a move, but I'm just, you know, as an example, mate, who knows? I have a certain move set, you know, like I do certain moves that I do, and I don't change my repertoire because like I like what I do. I think it's cool. I could always add to it. So you have,
as a fighter, you have stables, right? It's like a UFC fighter, you'd say he's predominantly a striker. So you have a stable of moves that you go back to?
Yeah, to a degree. You can be a high flyer, a technical wrestler, or a luchador, or a heavyweight, or like a, you know, brawler. There's all these different styles. I'll probably classify myself as a high flyer. You know, I'm not an extreme high flyer, but I do enough flips and jumps and stuff like that to fall into that category. Yeah. And I do have a certain set amount of moves. It's just because I like those moves. They go with my character. I like to hit them. They look great. They get the reaction I need. And it's just a matter of using them at the right time in the match.
Speaking of reaction, what sort of moves get like the crowd G up? Like the crowd likes a lot of acrobatics. Like what do they? Look, does the crowd
really depends. And that depends on the match and where it's positioned in the card. See, like if you are I'm going to use for your fans example, like a Brock Lesnar and a Goldberg, right? You don't expect to see them do the high flying flips because these are big guys. We want to see them bash each other and slam each other and lift each other and throw them. If you were to watch a match with like a Rey Mysterio and a Finn Balor, so to speak, you want to see these guys jump around and flip and roll and duck, dive, weave, backflip, forward flip, and do all the spots that are high flying and high impact. And like it's given its right place, right time. You know, you don't go to a funeral and eat a cheeseburger loud. You know what I mean? Like same sort of thing.
It's just so interesting, right? So harkening back to the UFC and WWE connection. So Cain Velasquez is there now?
Yeah, I don't know what his contract is or his deal. I know he came in for the Saudi Arabia show at Crown Jewel. I think he did a program with Brock. I'm actually really sorry. I'm not 100% sure. I think there was some criticism from backstage about the way he looked because he was kind of a bit overweight and, you know.
Pudgy,
but I actually not sure. Like, I know he's there, but there's such a crossover now. Like, there's talk of John Jones coming in. There's been talk of Connor coming in. Oh, my God, that would be amazing. But it's such a great crossover because these guys are athletes. They're already trained. They're like they just need to learn how to do the pro wrestling aspect, like the bumping and the rolls. But that's not something that would be hard for these guys given they compete at the highest level.
Not at all. I think there's so many parallels. One is the WWE in the 90s. They were experts at marketing. Like no entertainment company marketed as well as
known as the Attitude Era.
Correct. The UFC now, I would say they've completely rebranded themselves as an entertainment company.
Yes.
And to a point where it's almost reducing the integrity of them. And the reason I say that is we have a couple of matches. So the one that our friend Jeff is going to, Adesanya and Yoel Romero.
Yes.
Yoel Romero is on a 3-fight losing streak and he's fighting for a title.
Yeah, that's
because
strange.
Romero pulls. So it's getting to a degree where it's potentially diluting the integrity of the sport.
Yes, because I remember like maybe back in 2011, 12, 13, it was like 3 fight losses, you're out. That's it, you're done.
And now you can't.
Yeah, because it makes money. Because it's
correct.
going to make money. It doesn't matter anymore whether you deserve the spot or not. It's what's going to make money. And look, I agree. That's sad. That's why when CM Punk came in, everyone was like, there's so many fighters who are struggling day in, day out and working hard.
Correct.
And CM Punk walks in and he's already got a contract for X amount of dollars and guaranteed fights. Yeah, but you got to remember something. If I'm Dana White and I'm sitting there, I want to get paid, okay? I want to make money, okay? I don't say I agree with it, but you do what is best for business, okay? That is very much like it's turning into pro wrestling to a degree. It's just real fighting, you know?
And the other interesting thing is with the introduction, well, let's call it what it is, the Conor era.
Yes.
It's basically opened, individuals to levels of self-promotion that you've never ever seen. People are creating different versions of themselves simply to stay relevant. And it's very, very akin to what the WWE does. And the third and last one is the majority of champions in each weight class actually have a wrestling base to begin with. Of all the martial arts, they say that wrestling is the best base to build upon because quite simply, it allows you to dictate where the fight is. So if you're a striker, as soon as you go to the ground, if you don't know how to control people or don't know how to wrestle, it's game over. So as a wrestler, arguably you could learn striking, maybe not as well as a black belt or someone that's really, schooled in Muay Thai, but that's why it's mixed martial arts in that particular regard.
That's right. That's always been the constant question. What's the greatest discipline?
Correct.
What's the most effective
Well, it's like scissors, paper, rock. There's no such thing as the greatest discipline, but you need a manifestation.
Yeah, look, and I would agree with you because I do think as a wrestler, if you can absorb some punishment and just like wait for that moment to shoot and then take him down, you'll dictate the match from there.
Absolutely.
We saw that in the CM Punk match against, I think it was Mickey Gall. He got taken down straight away and that was it. It was over.
It was funny, as he came from WWE.
Yeah, but it's a different type of
different
wrestling.
type, yeah.
Like, yes, that wrestling is a certain component of it. Yes, I agree. But like choke slams and, go to sleeps and cross bodies, that's not wrestling, like traditional wrestling in the sense of it. So, it's a very, very, I think wrestling probably is the strongest discipline of them all. Like you look at a guy like Ken Shamrock, who was one of the founding people in the UFC, so to speak, when it started, he's a pro wrestler and his whole gimmick was around his legit martial arts background, and it was amazing to see because that's one guy. I worked a show with him back in August last year. I was on the undercard and he was in the main event against Dan Severn, who they've had a rivalry in the UFC and in the WWE. And mate, he can still go. He can.
How old is he?
He's in his early 50s. He just signed a deal with Impact Wrestling.
He's on everything in the sun, right?
I don't know. But look, he trains, man.
Yeah, he definitely
trains.
does train.
He trains. And
there's a good documentary about his whole camp and how they were I've seen, it's a really good It's a good. Yeah.
But he can wrestle, legit wrestle, and I wouldn't mess with that guy. If you've seen him, he's still
got it.
He's still jacked, man, and he's
still
doing. He can wrestle, properly wrestle, and he did a spot where he's running, jumping over the top rope and landing on the outside. And you're like, what the, bro?
Mate, when you got it, you got it. Tell me, mate, a bit more. Tell me about your next fight. Your next card.
Oh, mate.
Give it a plug.
Yeah. So Friday, the 28th of February, I'm in Melbourne for a Battle Championship Wrestling 37, 38, I'm not too sure which number it is. In Melbourne, I'm actually in a 16-man over-the-top battle royal. The winner gets a shot at the next BCW the next night in Sydney for the BCW heavyweight title. But also that tour is headlined by the Mexicals. And to tell you the truth, I'm kind of pissed I'm not wrestling them. So I might go and just maybe make myself an opportunity, to be fair. Yeah. And then after that, I'm at March 6th at AWE against the Banisher, who is a big, burly mofo, man. Like that, I'm going to have my hands full that night. It looks like Bane from Batman. That's the best way to explain him.
Got a good visual there.
Yeah, pretty much. And then up to Kingdom Pro Wrestling for their Crusade for Control tournament on March 14th. And then I've got some bookings lined up after that, but I just do my loops one set at a time. So I'm pretty busy, mate. Very, very busy at the moment. Just trying to stay in shape, eat right, do my weights, say my prayers, eat my vitamins according to Hulk Hogan. And that's
Nice
it.
one, mate.
Yeah.
Well, looks like you have a lot of things on. Mate, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's been a blast.
Well, let's do this again.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Thank you.